This episode is brought to you by Training House. Visit traininghouse.shop. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a podcast where James Bale and Tim Ford sit down virtually over Zoom to talk about the sport of triathlon. It is Talking Triathlon. That's James Bale. I am Tim Ford. We're back. Jimbo, how you going, mate?
I stand up actually, mate.
Do
I've got a
you?
standing desk, so I don't sit down at all, even though we're in entirely different hemispheres. You're right, we're on Zoom, but I'm stood, you're sitting. Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit tired. It's been a long week already. What day is it? Thursday.
Friday.
The week is rolling on. It's going to be Friday tomorrow when I wake up. It's late here. But no, life's all right, man. How are you doing?
Good. You stand up. I sit in a fancy gaming chair for our audio listeners. I got this
Yeah, yeah.
mid pandemic when I set up my home office and I bought some little shitty like $100 desk chair and it like immediately started to give me back problems. So I went and bought this super fancy gaming chair and I swear it is the best investment I've ever made in my like professional setup ever. I love this chair so much. Never played a video game ever once in my entire life, but it's a good chair for working. But no, I am good, mate. I
That's a
am
lie. That's a lie. When you say you've never played a video game in your entire life, that's a
no,
lie.
in this chair,
Oh, in the chair.
mate.
I
Fucking, of
thought you were just
course, I've played.
distancing yourself from being a video game
Mate,
person.
I wear that badge of honor proudly.
But
I play plenty of video games. Um, I have survived, mate. I have made it. I am within sight of the race. I did my last long run this week. The
when is
train,
the marathon again?
it is Sunday week. So
Sunday
not
week.
this
Okay, so it's
yeah, no,
taper time. It's taper time, motherfucker.
yeah, I did my last literally Reese put on my last long run. Was on Wednesday.
And what
And
is Reese's opinion of the sort of pace you're going to go for, therefore the time you're aiming for?
yeah, so the race pace he's been setting me has always been about, I think it's according to training piece like 4:05 or something. So what's that? 2:50 something?
So a sub three is still on.
That's 100% the goal. I did a
Right.
so the run on Wednesday was 16 kilometers at sort of like zone 2, so a 4:50 pace, and then 8 kilometers at marathon pace. And again, I'm not a massive watch. I can't watch and just sit to a pace. It's like, let's just, like how I imagine I need to run the marathon. And I averaged 3:57 for those 8 kilometers. So I thought,
Nice.
okay, I felt like, yeah, I felt pretty good about that. So the confidence is good. Again, I literally, Matt, I don't give a shit if I'm 2:59:59, I'll be happy. That's like
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the sort
Oh,
of
you'll
goal.
get it. You'll get it. The man with the hammer will not come for you, mate. You'll get there.
And my marathon equipment arrived as well from the lovely people at Mizuno. I got my new
Have you ever
fans
run a marathon distance before?
once in
Ah, this was
2012.
ages
Yeah,
ago, ages ago, ages ago. Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay,
Trondheim
but
in
in
Trondheim in Norway.
the modern era of Fit Tim, you haven't actually gone and run a marathon distance at a pace like that.
No, no, like that one I did in Norway.
Interesting.
I'd lost a fair bit of weight at that point, and I had done a 70.3, or I was about to do a 7. It was around the time I'd done my first 70.3. And I think the longest run I did in training was like 25 kilometers or something. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And I know I just went out and like jogged it. Like I just like, oh, let's just run 42 kilometers. But no, this will be a different sort of prospect because again, I am actually trying to put together a relatively, my best performance really. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it being done as well a bit. Like I wouldn't mind not focusing on this marathon for a while and then turn my attention back a bit more to triathlon. But yeah, it's good. I've survived, mate. I'm so yeah. There's always that concern, right? When you do something like this, like you pick up a little nickel or an injury or something. So I think to be here,
Oh, oh, you're gonna spend the week feeling every niggle. Like every time you have a little sniffle or something, you'll think, shit, I'm getting a cold. I hate taper week. I hate it so much.
yeah,
But you'll be all right.
yeah, it will be. How about you, mate? So obviously you said you're a bit tired, but what else? How's your training? What's the racing prospects like? Did T100 light a fire in you that makes you want to go
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do
Well,
another triathlon?
training's back on. I've had a, like I said last week, I've had a bit of a cold. I had a bit of a cold, but I'm coming out the end of that. So I've been running this week, doing my various bits and pieces. It's kind of a recovery week as set by my coach. Um, And so, but then apparently I'm going into a 6 week speed block.
Oof.
So, my goal at the moment is just to really to drop some weight and get moving again because I'm a few kilos heavier than fighting Bale used to be. So I need to get rid of those.
I don't know why my brain does this, but I think I am a slightly broken human being. But when you said it's like a 6 weeks of speed, I just imagine you running like Tom Cruise in every movie that he does, like
Yeah.
really pumping.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how I do it. It's like the T1000 in Terminator. I always chase a car.
Have you seen there's some of those social media clips and it's just like compilations of Tom Cruise running? It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
man, this
Man has a strange techers.
he certainly looks like he's running fast. Uh,
Mm.
anyway, if you want to talk more about things like who runs fast, I don't know what the hell that segue was. Head to patreon.com/talking triathlon where you can jump into our WhatsApp group, get our bonus episodes. We're recording it next week. We were meant to do it this week, but we had what's it, oh my God, we're trying to set a calendar clash. I'm having a stroke mid podcast. Anyway, we're recording the podcast next week. You get that bonus podcast every month. WhatsApp group, Strava group, fantasy league, other stuff we do. Good way to support us. Patreon.com/talking triathlon, $5 a month US. Please come join us. We appreciate the support. We put it back into the show, all that stuff. You were going to say something, Jimbo. What is it?
Oh, nothing. I was just helping emphasize your point with a bit of a hand motion. I've got nothing to say, mate. I've got nothing to bring to this party.
Standard, standard. Well, mate, where do you want to start this week? Where are we going to get into? Are we going to start with what has come, what is coming, or do we have some little chats?
I think we start with a little bit of random news.
Let's do it.
Sam Laidlow's pain cave has caught on fire. Um, he's had his pain cave in the south of France was destroyed by fire, damaging his road bikes and ruining motorbikes, turbos, TVs, tools, and memorabilia. He put a he put a post up on Instagram and said, "Life has its way of throwing unexpected challenges our way. Yesterday morning, our garage was hit by a fire that destroyed our pain cave. Following a lot of sudden rain, our air compressor went up in flames. Most of the road bikes have minor damage, lightly smoked, as they were completely the other side compared to where the fire started. Loads of motorbikes have been hurt. It was a tough day, especially while remaining focused on Kona prep, but in moments like these, I'm reminded of what truly matters. My family is safe, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. Everything else is just material. And while it's a shit way to start the week, it's nothing compared to the love and support that surrounds us." And he says a load of other stuff as well. And then he says, "Rebuild, refocus, and we'll see you at the Kona finish line. Hashtag burning for Kona."
Again, I'm glad that he's
That's a bit
okay.
random, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Glad everyone's all right. These things can spread at a quite a pacey pace. So we don't want fire spreading through people's houses. At least it was contained in his garage or wherever his pain
Well,
cave is.
I am also glad to hear that he's going to help to raise awareness of the importance of smoke alarms and electrical fires as a result of this too. It's a cause that really you need those advocates out there.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Random though, eh?
yeah, very, very random. I don't like I said, I just this what is it with Sam Laidlow? There's just like, and again, this isn't like genuinely, it's just like bad shit happens to him all the time. Like it's just it's one thing after another thing after another thing. But again, it's like if you look back to last year, lead up to Nice, where he tore his calf and he had COVID and he, I don't know, like shit himself in Lanzarote or whatever, it's heat stroke or whatever. We get to this year and it's like it's always just this fucking piles of shit. And the fact that he can still come out when it matters and perform the way that he does at on the biggest stage, it's very, very impressive. And I mean, I said it last year. That performance in Nice still to me, if he does that at any other race, nobody will ever beat him again. He was so dominant. So
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. It was off the scale, wasn't it? That Nice bike ride. It was beyond anything I've ever seen, and you were there watching it in person. So yeah, it is. I think an interesting insight into his personality, how a lot of stuff happens to him, but it doesn't seem to derail him at all. It just seems to drive him onwards. And I can't see this having a negative effect on his run into Kona. He will just simply take it in his stride, turn up and do whatever he's going to do on the island.
exactly. Um, Yeah, look, I don't really have much more to say. Yeah, hope everything's
No,
okay.
no. I
Hope
just
that,
thought
yeah, hope
I'd
that pretty
mention it
bike is
'cause,
okay because his Canyon bike is actually pure
yeah, it's
sex.
mint, isn't it?
It's
It's
pure
mint,
sex.
isn't it?
Oh my
I
God. Yeah.
really like that way they've done that bike up because I'm not a huge Canyon fan. I mean,
They're fun.
don't listen, Canyon. You know, if ever I'm asking you to sponsor an athlete I work with, we love you. But but uh personally speaking, I'm not a huge Canyon fan. I think they're out there too much. But his design and his motif is lovely.
I agree. I want to, this is like, we normally have a little chat before we start and we normally go through the things we want to talk about. I'm going to throw this one out there only because you made me aware of this yesterday. And I just want to, again, say it. Somebody that we both know through triathlon, a Canadian man called Michael Brown, we found out recently passed away. And I just wanted to give him obviously give our condolences to his friends and family and everything. But, we both met Michael through Super League and genuinely was very upset to hear the news that Michael had passed away really, really suddenly. If you're a Canadian or a North American who's involved with triathlon, you have undoubtedly crossed paths with Michael at one of Michael's events. He put in a lot of the big cycling triathlon events in North America or Canada, and was like really one of the good guys. Like really, I had a lot of time for Michael. He was a really nice guy, and like genuinely, the sport of triathlon is worse as a result of his passing. So I just wanted to take a little note, just a beat there. I probably should have started the episode with it, but I just wanted to, yeah, pass on our best and to his friends and family and stuff, and just say like, yeah, we're really, really, really
Yeah,
devastated to hear this
yeah,
news.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
young family is heartbreaking, and our thoughts go out to them. And sport-wise, triathlon is a tiny, tiny, tiny sport, but within that, he was a very big personality and someone that, like you say, if you're in North America or Canada, you will have crossed paths with this man because he brought a lot to the sport. A lot of
really, like,
enthusiasm, energy, and love.
and events, like he fought for those events. Like I know that he was doing it tough during COVID, but he was still always trying to put, like, he was a guy who really was trying to grow the sport for the positive. And it, like, genuinely, it's very upsetting, very sad. Like, you hear about people passing and stuff, and this was one that really sort of hit me. I was like, but anyway, just wanted to say that. I want to also, well, again, we sort of move on to that now. And again, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit different, but I guess it's kind of in our wheelhouse a fair bit, and that is around Ironman broadcasting, mate. Okay, because we had Zell MC 70.3, part of the Ironman Pro Series, happen over the weekend. And while I'm talking, I'm sure you can get up the results because obviously it's a Pro Series race. But I want to talk about the broadcast because Joe Skipper jumped into the commentary booth with Didi and Mirinda Carfrae over the weekend, and I thought he did a really fucking good job, mate. Um, we've seen a lot of discussion specifically. There's been plenty of discussion online about Joe's commentary, but there was a lot of it in our WhatsApp group. And I mean, I really, obviously I work with Joe, I'm Joe's manager, and we have a lot of conversations about the race. But I think that what it's shown me is a bit of a, like, that special sauce that's been missing with the IMM, or maybe triathlon broadcast in general. But did you get a chance to check any of the race over the weekend, mate? Did you see any of it, hear any of Joe's commentary?
I didn't, but what I did hear across the weekend was a huge amount of positive feedback in our WhatsApp group from people who were watching it, saying how much he was bringing to the commentary and how much he sort of raised the game of the other people because they had someone who was engaged and incredibly knowledgeable to bounce off. So yeah, I heard very good reports of what Joe Skipper brought to that commentary.
I think, again, I'll probably go in a bit more depth than carry the load as I always do on this bloody podcast, James.
Yeah, do the heavy
Um,
lifting, Tim. I'm just here to look pretty.
exactly. Uh, I think that what it's really sort of, it's probably a thought that I've had before, and I've maybe verbalized it previously. I'm not sure, but I think that Joe and Mirinda sort of, like, Joe really brought out another side of Rinny in commentary that we've not seen so much before, where they were really actually getting to talk about the specifics and start to talk about some what this means for the race and what might be going through the mind of the racer and talking about their experiences. And Didi, I feel like sort of kept trying to bring it back a bit more. Basic isn't the right word, but simplistic. And to
A
me, it
Hoka,
showed.
probably. Let's talk about
Sorry.
Hoka. Let's talk about Hoka.
Yeah, that's a Morton move. I think that what it's sort of shown me, and I know that this was something that we tried to put in place, not we, Mana put into place for Sub 7, was this idea that You always need a point of view, like the point of view character, and then you need the experts. And when I look at most racing we've seen this year, I feel like that's what's been missing is that you
Yeah.
need to have the people with that like even like the PTO I think is probably gone too far one way that where they've got Jan Frodeno exceptional, Jack Kelly who has encyclopedic knowledge about the sport of triathlon, and then you've got the sometimes it's Belinda, sometimes it's been oh my God, why am I have British Olympic bronze medalist, world champion, come on mate, help me out here,
Vicky Holland.
Vicky Holland, but there's never been that sort of non-triathlon person. And then I think back to like I think that the Clash people did a really good job of that, where you'd have like Belinda Granger. I think there was Tim O'Donnell at one point, and then you had the American guy, the
Yeah,
Daytona,
yeah,
the
yeah,
NASCAR
yeah.
commentator, and he was really good because he would ask the questions that a lot of the audience.
That's basically what commentary is, isn't it? I mean, when you've got a group of people commentating on a sporting event, you need that person who plays the layman.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
plays the person who says, I don't know what this is, so I'm going to ask you to explain it to me. And I'm going to constantly defer to your knowledge to say, okay, so what are we seeing here? And what would I ask if I was watching this sport for the first time or I'm watching it on the TV? What is it that I want to extract from these experts? Because generally speaking, when someone's retired from a pro sport and they're an expert in that field, they haven't got commentary expertise. So they come in and they're there to be prompted by the person who is the expert in how to get the best out of that kind of conversation.
I think that, like, yeah, exactly right. And that's why I think somebody like Will McCloy does such a good job, is because look, Will has knowledge of triathlon. I know that he's certainly not as, geeky as we are, but Will is very good at, like, he is that sort of professional commentator who's able to talk about actually what's happening. Because that's another thing that often gets forgotten. Like, it's good to talk around that, what does this mean, and this sort of stuff, but you also need the commentator who is like, James Bale has just been lapped by Tim Ford. He is now 45 minutes behind him after one lap of the bike. Like, you need the actual commentator to
I mean,
just
that's a
actually.
that's a that's a fantasy world you're living in there, but
But you do need somebody, and because then what you
yeah,
need
you
to have
do.
is the person who can then say, and then you could have the Yarn or the Joe or the Rini to be like, the reason for that is that Tim is just an exceptional athletic specimen who is clearly in another level, and it probably goes back to the train. Like, you need that person who can actually then commentate on, and I feel like that we're not seeing that anywhere this year,
No,
really, to be
I think
honest.
with the Iron Man commentary, we are seeing two people generally sit there, and there isn't any particular given structure that I would notice as a consumer. Now, that might be doing them a disservice. They may plan these things for hours in advance, but what
I
I'm
don't
not
think they
seeing
do,
is
James. I don't think they
any
do.
particular structure. As a consumer of it, as a listener to their style of commentary, it feels like they're kind of, other than the advert breaks, which are very structured when they know
And
they're going to
frequent.
do that, and frequent, and the things they have to say to promote the brands that they're working with, I don't feel like there's any energy or synergy or particular format to the commentary when I'm listening to it. And I think that's what needs to change, like you say. The sub seven, sub eight, they did a very good job of that. I think the PTO do a better job of it. But and like you say, with the PTO commentary, Jack Kelly's there to be the person who's calling the race as it's happening and deferring to the other experts that
I don't
he's
think he does that though, right?
sat
I,
aside with.
I think he probably, like, again, and no criticism, like, I think Jack's really good, but like I feel like that's probably the missing thing is it's like he gives
Mm.
too much. He tries to get into those expert conversations too much rather than being that voice that just talks about what's actually happening. Like, and I mean, I even think back to, like, and again, Annie Emerson is wonderful, but I've really noticed watching Supertri this year that, like, I thought Will and Chris were a really good combination because Chris has fucking the triathlon brain. Will, like, those two worked really well together. Annie is good, but I feel like she doesn't have that same. I don't know what I'm trying to like. I think Annie is probably better at the, like, while she's an incredible pro athlete, great history in the sport. I still feel like she's probably naturally moved more towards the, like, I feel like with Supertry a little bit now, we have two people sort of explaining what's happening. It's which is okay because the race isn't so short. But, like,
What's
yeah,
so good about Will that he's a professional commentator, and he knows
Yeah.
exactly what that dynamic needs to be to keep the audience entertained. And he's the person who drags it along and keeps that format flowing because he's got that stored in his brain, and that's what I think the other commentary teams are lacking, is
You
someone who will fill that dead space, or even realize in a moment that there needs to be a moment's dead space to let something play out.
you remember, I mean, I know you do, you were there with me, but in Paris when we were trying to, because obviously on the course you could see when the athletes would come past, but that's one spot on a big course. So we had the streams going, and on the regular Olympic stream, it was Trevor. Again, Trevor's a nice guy and everything, but I find him so boring as a commentator. But on the Australian broadcast was Will. So we were going to like great pains to have Will McCloy's commentary. And again, honestly, this is, if you're listening, Will, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, mate. But like, and you
Oh
could
no,
see
he's a wanker as
he's a
well. He's
prick,
just good at
prick of a thing,
commentary.
prick of a thing. Um, but you could see people were more, because everyone was doing this. Everyone had their phones out, and you could see more people were paying attention to our stream with Will commentating than the others with. Like it was literally like that moment where Alex kicked and beat Hayden, and I had my little celebration. There's probably 20 people around us watching our broadcast at that point, believe a big fact is because of the work that Will did, and
Yeah.
no, anyway, I just wanted to, because I think that Joe did a really good job, and it did highlight to me that yeah, Ironman Broadcast is missing that special sauce. And I mean, I think that with the investment we've seen in them with their Pro Series and the actual broadcast. I mean, look, in Frankfurt the other day, there was a lot of shaky cam ahead of Kristian that we've seen in the past. But to me, it feels like this one missing element that I think they could really, really nail down. And what I want to finish with before we move on to something, actually talk about the race, is if you, with everybody who's currently commentating, everybody on World Triathlon, Challenge Family, PTO, Supertri, Ironman. If you had to pick your commentary team, who would you pick? You can have, let's say, you can have three in studio and one on the ground. Who would they be?
I'm gonna have Will McCloy
Yeah,
anchoring the commentary in the studio, obviously. I would have, see, Zoom agrees.
Zoom agrees.
I would have Jan Frodeno in there.
I agree. Oh, mate, the pressure.
Belinda.
Yep,
Belinda
I
would
agree as well.
balance. That's my studio sorted out. On the ground,
Yeah, here we go.
I think Vicky Holland is brilliant at the on the ground work. I've seen her do it at the T100 events, and she's really good at being that sort of roving, enthusiastic person.
I hate when this happens. Like, I really hate when this happens. But I would probably agree with you, actually. Like I think that those three, the three in commentary for me, I think are a lock. I think Will Belinda and Jan, I would love to hear in commentary together. I don't know how we make this happen, but I
Yeah.
would love to hear that pairing in maybe Challenge Roth next year. Belinda, if you're listening, you've got powers. Let's make that happen. Uh, but yeah, I think that would be the way I'd like to see it. And yeah, like I still feel like it's something, they normally say with a lot of stuff, if it's good, you don't really notice it, but you notice it when it's bad. I spend a lot of time noticing bad calls in triathlon, like too much. So
Yeah, I mean, you asked me whether I watched the race, and the main reason I'm not watching these Ironman Pro Series races is because the commentary drives me insane.
commentary and
It
ads.
makes me want to distance myself from that series, so I can't bring myself to do it.
On another note, before we actually talk about the race in Zell MC, uh, fuck man, I need to go race there. It looked
Yeah, I know.
unbelievable. My God.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah,
great
yeah,
regrets I have in life is early days in my triathlon racing career. I qualified to go race world champs there in 2015, and I'm not going to Austria. I've regretted that choice ever since.
yeah.
Like ever since, one of the great regrets. But I need to
It
add that
looks like
race
a
to my bucket
very,
list.
very beautiful race, doesn't it? And the swim must be stunning in that lake.
Looks, yeah, incredible. Anyway, let's talk about the race. How'd it go, mate?
Oh, really well, mate. Mika Newt won on the men's side, and Caroline Pole won on the women's side. Grace Thek was in second, Laura Madsden was in third, Ellie Salthouse was in fourth, and Els Visser was in fifth. On the men's, Yella Gaines was in second, Gregory Payet was in third, Tom Hug in fourth, and Jan Stratman in fifth.
What's about the race?
And yeah, they nailed it. Well done, all of them.
I'm surprised. I know that you always like to see Ellie Salthouse up there, so a little disappointed
I
to see her
do.
not off the podium. But Grace Thick ran through for second because she did ran through. I think is a great performance. Grace is an Australian athlete. She's always been on the fringes, so I think this is a really good performance from her. Laura Madsen is also is one. Just every time I see her on a start list, I'm very curious to see what she does. I believe that she is heading to. I think I saw her. I'm saying this now and I'm actually really regretting it, but we've got that, was it Challenge Samarkand on this weekend in Uzbekistan? You've got Gustav and Christian and Rico racing each other. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Mika Newt, again, I think is another athlete that was he third at 70.3 Worlds 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
And another athlete that I feel like is on the precipice of something really, really special. So good to see him. Yellow Gaines, that 70, that short course guy. Yelly is, I don't know what's going on with Yellow Gaines. He seems to have just gone. He was, to me, he was always such a threat at short course. And then I don't know whether he got injured or got sick or something, but he's just sort of floating along. I don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of this person that you see pop up every now and again. He's not winning anything. He's just there or thereabouts. The women's race was close. I mean, it was 4:17:24, 4:18:58, 4:19:23,
Oh, super close.
4:20:57.
Oof, minutes.
Yeah, well,
Edge of
closer
his,
than we're
edge
used
of
to
your seat
seeing.
racing.
Yeah, closer than you're used to seeing. Closer
Um,
than the men's race between first and second, anyway.
what was the gaps? Give me the gaps in the men's race.
In the men's race, it's 3:46:04, 3:51:09, 3:51:59, and 3:52:18 with 3:53:34 in fifth. So yeah, close-ish between second and third, but then it kind of died off a little bit. But Mika Newt won it by,
He
four or
pretty much
five
led all day,
minutes.
didn't he? I think he just led most of the day, to be honest. So
Yeah, he wasn't the first out of the swim, but he was the fastest on the bike and the fastest on the run. Wasn't the fastest on the run. Tom Hoog was the fastest on the run, but he was so far behind at that point, it didn't make any difference.
that's how you do it, mate. Swim, bike, run. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
another Pro Series race. I don't know. We must be. I think there can't be too many more. I know there's no more Ironmans now until till Kona, or Nice, but
In terms of races that qualify for the Pro Series, we've got the Ironman World Championships in Nice, the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Ironman 70.3 Western Australia, and Ironman 70.3 World Championships
that's it. So there's only four to go.
in Taupo. Yeah, men's and women's. So yeah, only one, two, three,
Four, five.
four races.
So we're
Four
really
races to
we're
go.
really getting into that period now where the big name racing is probably going to slow down a little bit just because athletes are starting to gear themselves towards the World Championships. I do
Yeah.
find this an interesting sort of time of year because you do see different. I mean, to be honest, the Pro Series has seen so many different names sort of performing as well. But no, it is an interesting sort of time of year to get into it.
So in the
Yep.
standings, Jackie Herring is leading the women's ahead of Danielle Lewis and Maja Stage Nielsen. And the men's, Matt Hansen is leading ahead of Arnaud Gamon and Jackson Laundry.
Jackson, I'm Jackson again. We talked about Yellow Gains. He's just also having one of those like not really breaking through, but just like consistently getting enough points to sort of feature,
Yeah,
which is
he's just kind of there, isn't he?
yeah, again, which is again, I'm not dislike. It seems like there's a lot of it, but I'm also not disliking it. I hope we see it again next year because I think it's been quite a good thing. James, this week's episode is brought to you by Training House, one of our sponsors. They've been on board for a few weeks now. We are really, really happy to be working with Training House for this show. And this week, I wanted to talk about the fact that they have got some Training House merchandise on the way. If you head to their Instagram account, you can see that they've got shirts and socks and backpacks and all sorts of hats and clothes and all goodies coming. So if you want to not only get the best equipment, but look good while doing it, you can get on board with their stuff as well. As we said before, we say it every single week. It is a really, really great way to get your triathlon or endurance sports needs. If you are like me and running the Sydney Marathon in what just over a week, now is your time to jump on board and get your race day nutrition sorted. Don't be trying new stuff now. It is too close. It is too late. You've left it too late to get to try something new. So just stick to your tried and tested race day nutrition strategy. But yeah, Training House has got some cool new clothing, some good equipment. And again, the great nutrition products that you like and use regularly. Are you gonna get yourself some of those clothes, Jimbo?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Now that I'm starting to ramp up my training a little bit, and my goal over the next 6 weeks is predominantly going to be weight loss to bring myself down to reduce that impact on my body. I think I need to get myself some new garments that I can maybe I'll get myself a small to medium to give myself something to aim for. And then when I know by Christmas that I can get into my training house gear, I know that I'm on the right track.
I love it. So, guys,
You
if
do
you,
that. You do that. I got t-shirts that I know I can only wear when I'm in high quality fighting shape.
I
We've all
have
got that, haven't we?
I have a cycling kit that is my I'm in race shape cycling kit.
Yeah.
And I haven't been wearing that cycling kit much for a while. So hopefully I'll be in that kit again. Now my weight's dropped a fair bit recently. But yes, I will hopefully be back in that kit later. But yeah, guys, if you want to check out that stuff, as always, head to traininghouse.shop. Support a great brand that is supporting us. Back to the rest of the show. Where are we off to next, James?
Do we have a chat about Kristian Blummenfelt?
Let's have a chat about Kristian Blummenfelt.
So he released a YouTube video um, only yesterday or the day before, giving a Olympic race and Ironman recap. And I thought it was an interesting way. I mean, he's a very high performing human being, isn't he? He holds himself to an incredibly high standard. But he has, I mean, I thought his phrasing was interesting because he said, um, did we fail the project? Yes, we did. Of course, when you come 12th in Paris, you are failing the project of coming back to short course. That's the harsh brutality. But I don't think it's Ironman racing I did in 2022. It's a sort of more, we have to be honest with ourselves. Decisions we did in training, how we waited the last 12 months was not good enough. It was obviously good enough to be in an Ironman shape, but I think it's tilted a bit in the wrong direction. And I just thought saying that you failed is a bit brutal. You know, the man won an Olympic gold medal, went and smashed long course for a couple of years, and then came back to short course, qualified, was selected for, and then finished 12th in the Olympics, which is you know, the biggest competition in short course racing. I think that's an achievement in himself, and I wanted to sort of put that out there, to be honest. I think 12th is remarkable.
Thing I find curious about this, because I did, firstly, yes, I think that for us, it's very easy to say, "Oh no, you didn't." I can understand from Christian's point of view, knowing, as you said, that he's such a high performing individual and he is used like he has literally done the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet of triathlon. He's won everything you can win. He has won except for Xterra and stuff. So I can understand that. But the thing I find most interesting, or like the little tidbits that I'm taking away that make me sort of scratch my head a little bit, is this idea that they think that upon reflection, their training might have been geared a little bit too much toward like making him Ironman fit rather than Olympic distance fit. And the thing that I find weird about this, and again, I'm just speaking, these are the most scientific guys on the planet, right? Like these are the guys who measure everything. They take thermometers up their anus to literally check internal temperatures and stuff. Like they are doing things that most people don't want to even know about. So how the fuck did they get that wrong? Like to me, there's some sort of I don't understand how if you are, and again, I'm sure if you firstly did a successful Olympic campaign in 2021, did a successful Ironman, so you've got the Olympic training you did, you've now got the Ironman training you did, and now you're doing how unless the difference is very minimal for how they do it. I don't know how they train, but I heard this and I thought that's a very interesting sort of thing because I don't get how the most scientific measured people who look at every single millimole of lactate and thing wouldn't have gone this. Like we heard Olav coming out saying, oh, his numbers are better than they were before Tokyo. Was that true? Was that a lie? Like, I don't know. I can't understand how they got it wrong because they don't seem to get anything wrong, you know? So I don't know. What do you think about
No,
that?
I think it's really interesting because, yeah, you're right. Don't get me wrong. For me and you, the idea of 12th is remarkable. And I think he should be very, very proud of what he achieved. Obviously, within himself, he's going to beat himself up. And on the bare face of it, and when he says it was geared slightly in the wrong way, it clearly was. He came 12th in the Olympics. Then he went and absolutely fucked everyone up in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Like, so clearly his fitness is astronomical. You know, It's not like he went and did 12th in the Olympics, then came sort of fourth in Frankfurt and was kind of, there or thereabouts. His fitness is through the roof. His his where he is on his scale of how fucking good Kristian Blummenfelt can be is at the pretty fucking good curve when it comes to Ironman racing. It's just not at the pretty fucking good curve when it comes to short course racing. He's at the 12th in the fucking world, which is amazing, but it ain't the gold medal that he was hoping, the defended gold medal that he was hoping for. So clearly they did something. They misaligned something. Now I reckon, I mean, I'm speaking wholly on their behalf and speculating
as we
right
do.
now, but I reckon that probably comes from a kind of subconscious. They were all in for the short course before the last Olympics, and then they started balancing the long and the short. And I think it probably maybe came from a kind of, we got this. We know how to balance these two things now. And maybe not quite
A
getting
bit of
that balance right.
hubris. A bit of
Not
hubris.
hubris, I would say, but more a slight kind of, we have mastered this back and forth between short course and Olympic, and training for, sorry, short course and Ironman, training for that longer distance, we can drop back down and maybe not specifying quite as much as they would have done for the short course racing as they did in the years gone by.
Do you think that because we've always spoken about how with the Norwegians you have to throw the rule book out? The rules used to be, you can't be a good at short distance and you need to focus. It's a specialist thing. And then he came and, won the Olympics and then went and broke the world record and then did something like, do you think this is more a case of this is the first time where no, you can be the best in the world. You can be a potential contender for the greatest of all time. But that tried and tested rule that we've seen over a really long time, which is once you go long, you can't go back, is maybe true. I mean, Christian's very much trying to say, no, that's not the case. But maybe it is. And I mean, because the only other person that we have to sort of compare to at the moment is Taylor Knibb. She's the Gustav tried, complete disaster, got injured, stuff. Gustav's never doing a short course again. Taylor Knibb, I don't think we're probably going to see do short course anymore. But she very, very good at sort of Olympic distance in the lead up to Tokyo. Didn't race well in Tokyo. Continued the short course, was very good. Started to do 70.3s, very fucking good. Last year went and did Kona and then didn't perform at the Olympics. Got a silver medal in the mixed team relay. I was very impressed by her performance. I didn't expect it. But do you think like the evidence, right? And I know you don't like to speculate, so let's remove speculation and let's talk about statistics. And there's Chris McCormack tried to do this, didn't do it. I found out recently Mark Allen tried to do this, didn't work. Do you think that once you go long, it is not possible to go back to the super short distance stuff?
I think it might be, yeah. I think you might have, because we're talking tiny, tiny percentages is the difference between that Olympic field, gold medal, and back down to whatever, whenever they start to really drop off at the end. It's a tiny, tiny percentage difference in the human body that means you're fighting for first place or you're fighting for 10th place or you're fighting for 15th place. And what you could see, I mean, I'm no sports scientist, but you could assume that once you start training long and you put your body through the rigors of having done Ironman training, and then you go and race an Ironman, and that you could see a physiological change that just takes that tiny percentage away, that ability to get those really fast twitch moments back.
I also wonder if there is an element of, and again, this is back to speculation, but I saw a really interesting analogy that I thought was incredibly accurate this week. It was about a 5 kilometer race versus a marathon. And they said they're both extremely painful in completely different ways. They said a marathon is a slow, gradual descent into madness, whereas a 5 kilometers is looking death in the face for, 16, 17 minutes the whole time, like literally staring at death in the
Oh,
face.
there's nothing I hate more than when my coach sets me a 5K fucking test.
So
I hate it.
maybe there's an element as well of, and again, we know how hard Christian pushed himself to win that Olympic race. Like this is the guy who can push himself harder than anybody. But once you've done a fair few Ironmans and longer stuff and been very successful at it and going I don't need to push myself to the face of death for an hour or 2 hours. Even if it's not intentional, I wonder if there is this certain, like, the body's unwilling to go to that level again. And again, we'll talk
Kind of
about it a little bit.
subconsciously switches itself off a little
Or
bit.
it's just like that's a gear that I'm because Chris McCormack Mack has always said that you eventually have to pay the price, right? Your ledger is here, and no matter what you do, you will pay the price at some point. And I wonder if Kristian went to a place in Tokyo that, because of that performance, fucking obviously worked for him, he is never capable of going there again. And yeah, I think that maybe there's I don't know, right? Like I feel like there's probably a whole bunch of things, but I would agree that I think the evidence seems to indicate it is a
He's
kind of one-way
listening.
journey.
He's listening.
Yeah.
Kristian, come and have a chat with us, mate. Let's talk it out. Let's see where you're at.
Um, I think the fact that as you said, if he had have gone to Frankfurt and just survived, this would be a very
Yeah.
different conversation. I would have said, okay,
Oh, totally.
the
Yeah,
training.
we'd be going, well, something derailed there. But the fact that he's at the peak of awesomeness when it comes to Ironman, almost breaking this 2:30 marathon at the end, you know, showboating down the tunnel, high-fiving people, having just
Kissing babies, yeah.
absolutely rinsed everybody, shows the balance was off slightly. And it's interesting. It is really interesting. And I wish we could just press a button and get the answer from a physiological, psychological perspective and understand what, if anything, changes in the human body when you go long, and whether that is there is ever going back to short.
Kristian, you do listen. I know you listen. What I actually would like to see, because I touched on Olav coming out saying his numbers were better in the lead up to Paris, is I would actually like to very much actually see the data. Let's compare the data. And again, it's post Paris now. Nobody cares anymore. Like, let's see it. Let's actually compare your numbers pre Paris, pre Tokyo, and like you're right. I'm very curious about it. So, but look, the main thing is, I think Kristian is about to have a fucking. Please don't go to cycling, by the way. Please don't. I think he's about to have a very, very successful long course, middle distance, PTO, all those things, triathlon career. I think we'll still probably see him do some world triathlon races as well. Maybe, I'm not sure, but no, I'm keen for it, mate. I'm very, very keen for it. Do you want to?
Please don't go to cycling, mate. Don't do it.
Not to us.
Don't do it. You're a long time retired. When it comes to it, when the piper comes and you step off that final race course, wherever it is, you don't want to have wasted 5 to 7 years trying to climb a ladder that ain't there for you.
Let's just start with winning Kona this year, Kristian. Go on, mate. Get
Yeah,
it.
go
Get
do
it,
that.
mate. Come on. Yeah. Do you want to talk about, should we go on to the fact that they are racing this weekend? I know there's just not heaps to say, but we've got let's just piggyback it on the back of this. Challenge Samarkand is happening this weekend in Uzbekistan. One of the more random locations for a race. But the main point of interest is that we have Kristian Gustav and Rico Bogan on the start list. What do you think about those three, man? What are you expecting to see? Are we expecting fireworks? It's only a few weeks since Ironman, Frankfurt, Kristian. What do you think is going to happen?
I have no fucking idea, because Kristian Blummenfelt was blown away any semblance of respect our audience should have for my opinion on how he's gonna how he's gonna race. Because I think I went Frankfurt, I was just like, yeah, you'll just survive it, it'd be all right. And then he went and slammed everybody. Yeah, it'd be an interesting race. I'd really like to see Gustav have a really, really good race. I'd like to see Gustav just back to, coming into some form before we start to see the end of the season, and have the race that we all know he is capable of. Rico is my fucking man, mate. I love him. What a bloke.
Junior.
What a
What a
boy.
man. What a man.
Yeah.
What a man.
Just just to see him race, giving it everything, presumably. And yeah, I'd like to see Rico do well. But Kristian will probably just smash everybody, won't he?
I,
I assume he will.
I am very curious to see where Gustav is at, because he sort of,
Mm.
he went and did his ratification races, but he was coming good. Like that form was building. And it's been a few weeks since then. So I'm sort of, yeah, let's see what Gustav has. Rico is just, yeah, whatever it is, I'm excited to see it. We've also got Tom Bishop on that start list. So Tom will definitely sort of, make things a little bit interesting, but I don't really expect him to feature too much. I could eat my words. I was right. Laura Madsen is racing, or she's on the start list of this race as well. But the other
Cool.
name of interest for me that I do want to have a little bit of a chat with you about, and we'll move into the next thing, is that Nicole van der Kay is also on that start list. Now, Nicole van der Kay, the New Zealand short course Olympian, also seems to be making a bit of a transition to short course, long course. We talked about the fact that post Paris, we're going to start to see these athletes stepping up in distance and things like that.
We are indeed.
Uh, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good call. I think she's a great athlete, and I think when she does, well, she is, when she takes that step up, it's an opportunity. It's a new market, isn't it? Basically, for these athletes who've had their turn at short course, and then they get to. It's almost like within triathlon, you get the chance of having two careers, isn't it? And
Very,
it's
very
it's a
different.
it's a restart for them.
Well,
You never know. She might absolutely slam everybody and be a natural.
I have a feeling again. I know Nicole a little bit from Supertri. I feel like she could be quite good at. I think she could be quite good at middle distance racing actually. And yeah, we haven't really seen a female. That's not true. We've seen plenty of good female Kiwis. Yeah, I'm keen to see this. The other two athletes, short course athletes that are sort of not so much stepping up in distance, but moving away from draft legal to non-drafting this weekend is Tyler Mislachuk and Henry Skuman, who are also racing Challenge Beijing this weekend. That's Challenge Beijing, but it's actually an Olympic distance non-drafting race. And on that start list, with the addition of Tyler and Henry, you've got Mark Dubrick, Aaron Royal, who's off the back of being he was a guide at the Paralympics actually. So well done, Aaron. Frederick Funk and Kyle Smith on the men's race. Paula Finlay, Julie Darren, Ellie Salthouse, Lucy Byram, Amelia Watkinson, and Sean Raisley in the women's race. This is a pretty fire little start list, mate, for an Olympic distance non-drafting race in China.
Yeah, it really is. It's an interesting race, isn't it? I can't wait to see how Tyler does.
So
Uh,
keen, mate.
he's been out there riding his TT bike. It's really quite. I had to do a double take the other day because I clicked on his Instagram story and there was a picture of a TT bike, and I'm like, that
What?
ain't you, mate. That's not what you do. But yeah, I'm really keen to see how he does at this race. But it's quite a for a Challenge Beijing. It's quite a stacked field, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like an interesting selection of people. Tyler Misterchuk, Henry Skuman, Mark Dubrick, Aaron Royal, Frederick Funk. It's and Carl Smith as well.
yeah. I think talking with mostly Tyler, I've had a few chats with Tyler this week. Like, I mean, I'm very curious from this race because obviously the big factor is it's a non-draft 20-meter draft zone bike race, which Tyler's never done before. Tyler's going, how the fuck do I know what 20 meters is? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. How do
it's
I
the
how do I do this distance?
it's that dynamic of the fact that, Henry, Tyler, Mark Dubrick are some of the best swimmers like in the sport, full stop. These guys are going to come out of the water together. Carl Smith, Frederick Funk are going to have a gap to make up, but they're also absolute bike powerhouses. And then I would expect Tyler and Henry to be able to outrun all of them. Probably Tyler the most,
Yeah,
actually. So it's this numbers game of, well, how much of a gap are they going to have out of the swim? And then it's only a 40-kilometer bike. So how big a gap if there is a gap, can those guys, because they have to make up the swim gap and then extend it. And then how much can these guys run into? Like, I'm genuinely fascinated to see how this race unfolds. And this is the exciting thing you get when you bring in these non-drafting guys into the draft legal guys into the non-draft race, because suddenly it is a little like Tyler is the king of strategically placing himself behind people getting off and dropping a fast run. He ain't going to be able to do that this time. He'll be able to ride with people, but he's only had that TT bike for like 10 days or something, 2 weeks. So I'm very interested to see how this race goes. It'll
yeah. It'd
be
be interesting to see how like you say how the cards fall on this one. Um, because the thing with the short course people coming up to race the long course is they've got a stinging swim normally, they've got a stinging run. It's whether they can survive that bike ride still within spitting distance to be able to get, because often the tried and tested long course athletes have got very, very powerful bike legs, which can often put them to the sword. But like you say, it's a 40K bike.
And I think for Henry, even Henry's done a fair few 70.3s now, second in Bahrain, won Cebu this year. So like, and when he came second in Bahrain, he was riding with those like he was in that front pack on the bike for a lot of it until sort of MVR pulled away. So it's not like, people have this perception that they're just shit cyclists. Like they are not. They ride very, very fast in 70 in Olympic distance. Like it's not as simple as people like Do not count any of these short course guys out like that, thinking they're going to lose 5 minutes. It ain't it. They are still professional triathletes. So yeah, it's going to be really, 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 really interesting to see, and I'm here for it. The last thing we're going to talk about this week, mate, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat about is around two things.
Two more things to talk.
Okay, what are they? What's next?
Two more things to talk about. We've got to talk about the London Supertri,
Two,
and we've got to
correct.
talk about the recently announced Ironman World Championship Nice start list.
Let's start with Nice. The World
All
Champs
right.
start list is out. It's a
It
pretty,
is
it's,
in.
it's a pretty all right start list, mate.
Yeah, it's not too bad, is it? It's not too bad. Not too unexpected with the Ironman World Championships. It draws a field, mate. We got Lucy Charles-Barclay, Anne Haug, Laura Phillip, Chelsea Sodaro, Kat Matthews, Jackie Herring, Daniela Lewis, Alice Alberts, Fenella Langridge, Hannah Berry. Who else are we talking about here? Marjolaine Pierre, uh, Marja Stays Nielsen, who else? Lottie Wins,
Lottie
Elms
Wilms,
Visser.
Els Visser.
Yeah.
Mate,
I'm,
there's
I'm
some quality.
scrolling on down to see
There's
who
some
else I can see. But yeah, there's loads and loads of very high quality athletes, as you'd expect with the Ironman World Championships on this start list. And it's going to be banging.
well, we did. We saw the men obviously make their debut in Nice last year, and it's the women's turn. It's a different race to Kona. And I think we're going to see the race unfold in a very different. That bike course is brutal. Like, and not just because of the climbing, but the descent in, the technicality, the road
Mm.
surfaces. You know, the race didn't go how anybody really expected last year. I think we're going to see something similar in this women's race. Uh, well, I mean, here we are. We're only a couple of weeks out, but like, what, this round, what sort of, who are the people you're sort of keeping an eye on? What are you sort of expecting to happen? Who wants to watch? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's Lucy Charles Barkley is obviously the biggest name going into this, in my opinion. She's the one that everyone's going to hang their hat on. I think the bike course might just tip the balance to make it so that she doesn't win this race.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more, actually. Like genuinely, I keep saying genuinely. It's annoying me. I think that this bike course is going to be such a limiting factor for Lucy, and I think Lucy is fucking
And
wonderful.
if I'm honest, I think it's more the descent
Yeah.
that will be the limiting factor than the climbing, because the climbing, climbing on a TT bike is just a
It's not.
steady output of power.
It's not technical
Yeah,
climbing either. It's very
no,
much just.
exactly. You're
It's just
sitting there, and
long.
it's almost like doing a TT. If you're climbing solo and if you're in a world tour race, for example, and you're responding to attacks and you're sprinting up a mountain every 10 to 15 seconds, essentially. That's a very different version of climbing on a bike to climbing on a time trial bike solo in a race, which is non-drafting, because it is just an application of power, which is very similar to a time trial in itself. So time trialists, when they're climbing on their own, are normally very good at climbing. If you look at someone like Felipe Ganna, when he's climbing on his own, when he's solo in a race, he's very good at doing that sort of application of power. So I think the descent might be more of an issue for someone like Lucy. Now, looking at that field, it's interesting. Laura Phillip will be very good, and I think Kat Matthews as well would be a name that might respond very well to a course like this.
The Kat Matthews thing, because to me, Kat is one of the obvious. You have to talk about Kat Matthews. She has been so dominant this year. She's incredible. But at what point does it catch up with her? Like we've seen all these other athletes. At some point, they've had to pay the piper, so to speak. And I don't wish this on her. Nothing would make me happier than to see Kat go on and win this thing. But she's just done so many fucking races, mate. Like it's crazy. I think. I mean, look, I agree with you about Lucy. I think that the technicality of this course, we said this from day dot. I think she'll struggle on it. I don't know how much she's in Bean Alliance already the last month. I don't know how technical it is over there. But the names for me that are of interest, I'm not expecting to see much from Chelsea just because she's having one of those sort of like all over the place years. Laura Phillip is a decent shout. Anne Haug, I think, is going to be very dangerous. She's little, so she's going to be able to climb well. People underestimate how good a cyclist she is, and she can
Agreed.
run like the fucking clappers. But the name that I'm very fascinated to see, and it's not a name we talk about that often on this show, is Marjolaine Pierre,
Yeah.
because much like her partner Clement Filet-Mignon, Marjolaine lives in Nice. And, we saw Rudy von Berg have that great performance because he lives and trains on those roads. And I feel like that this is such an advantage some athletes will have. Also, very good runner, very like smaller frame, not like a big, strong athlete. So should have a like easier in brackets sort of time climbing the climbs, but definitely a little like one to watch for me. And India Lee is another athlete that I'm watching with a lot of interest
Agreed.
for this race. I
Agreed.
think India is so well rounded, and that performance in T100 Miami was that run was so impressive. And then we've not really seen India. It's like she's sort of gone quiet since then, and I don't think that's not a bad thing, right? I think that there's probably a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes for this event because she knows that it's a race that she could do quite well at. Uh,
Yeah, agreed.
she's definitely. I think there's gonna be an upset. I think there's gonna be a name on that podium. I don't know what position. That we're not expecting. I'm quite confident to put my money on Anne Haug to win this thing at this point in time. I would, this far out, I think I'd put money on Anne Haug as my pick. The other two, I couldn't split them at the moment. It could be Laura, it could be Kat, it could be
Yeah.
Marjolaine, it could be.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised to see Anne Haug on the podium, like you say. Um,
She raced that
India Lee is a
70.3.
great call. India Lee is a great call. I hadn't scrolled down far enough to get to her name, but
One of the
I think you might be onto something there, mate.
one of the other ones that I guess, a bit disappointed. So Amelia Watkinson, the key again. I'm such a huge Amelia fan. I feel like she qualified for this in New Zealand this year, and she's not on the start list, so she's opted out, which I find dis. I really thought Amelia could do it. She's such a good cyclist. I thought this could have been a good race for her. But yeah, mate, there's my stage Nielsen also. Like I'm really looking at those. I mean, Kyla Simpson, incredible runner, but her bike and swim isn't great. Lottie Wilms could be like Lottie Wilms is somebody who flies under the radar, but has been consistently up there at most races she's done this year
Totally.
as well. Uh, Laura Brandon,
Is Tamara Jewett on the start list?
not for Ironman, I don't think. I don't think she's ever done an
No,
Ironman, has she?
no, no. Okay.
Um, no, I think Ruth Astel's on there, but again, I just never know
Yeah,
where Ruth's leg is at in terms of running, but definitely feature on
yeah,
the
yeah.
on the bike.
Oh, without question, could feature on that bike course.
Yeah, mate. Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it's getting close. We'll do a big preview probably next week. We might try to get somebody on to do a big preview episode
Yeah, yeah. I'm
with
heading
us.
down to Nice the weekend after that next episode comes out. So I'll be down there on the in the region anyway until it's race weekend when I'll get a bit closer.
Say hello to James Bale if you see him. He's impossible to miss. Big shiny forehead head.
Big shiny forehead
If
running up
he's
and down the Nice
screaming,
seafront in my
screaming.
screaming, generally screaming.
Please wear the
Yeah.
light. Just do one run up and down the. What's it called? What's the famous street in Nice called? The Place
Oh
d'Anglaise?
yes, yeah, Place d'Anglaise, yeah.
Can you do one run in your white tri suit up and down the
No,
okay,
that
fair
white
enough.
truce is never gonna get worn again, mate. If
Fair
anybody
enough.
wants it, write in, I'll send it to you.
No, 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 don't do that. Finally, Supertri London, mate. Here we are. The last thing to talk about this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Supertri London.
Sunday, the 8th of September, we've got the Super Tri race with the women's pro race at 12:13, coverage starting at midday UK time, and the men's pro race at 13:27, coverage starting at 13:20. So it's going to be an interesting one. This, I think, Hayden really needed that victory last time out in Chicago, didn't he? As a mental aid, if nothing else, before it comes down to which is what it's essentially a showdown with Yi in London.
Hayden wins it. I think they've worked it out now. They've worked out how to beat Alex. I think they're going to lather, rinse, repeat. I think we're going to see very similar results to what we saw in Chicago.
Do you think Hayden can get over that mental block he's got of not feeling like he's racing like he wants to race?
I don't fit.
I mean, he did in Chicago, but then he moaned about it afterwards, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think that because again, I know that I know how important this team thing is for Crown Racing. So yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Again, don't forget, it's a very technical course in London too. So even if you sort of
Yeah.
sit in the pack, there's a lot more at play. Like there's a lot more opportunity to attack. There's the cobbles, there's those tight turns. There's a lot going on this course. It's the second best course on the Super Tri calendar. It's a great venue. It's the best venue, I think.
Oh, it's amazing. As a spectator, if you can
Mhm.
get there, it really is worth going to. Because you line the where the swim is, and it's a great little part of London. It's kind of a little microcosm that you can get to, and it's it's not too busy when you're there. It's very triathlon focused. You've just got the event that's taking place, and there's a few bars and restaurants up and down the strip. And
Great.
yeah,
It's a great spot for an
worth
event.
visiting.
It really
Yeah.
is. Like, I'm actually quite upset I'm not going to be there. I really enjoy London as a race. And I know there's going to be a few of our patrons there. I hope you guys got the VIP tickets because I think they're actually really worth it at a Supertri event because you get all the booze and food. Uh, the women's race, I think Kate Woff will be back this week. I know that she was a little bit sick in the lead up to Chicago. So I think that we'll see her back performing this weekend.
Yeah, I tend to
Yeah,
agree.
I'm again, I like it. The times are a little bit better for us being in the UK rather than the US means it'll actually be on my evening, I think, or maybe it'll still be, I can't remember. But no, I really enjoy this race. I
Yeah,
think that,
it'll be your sort of 9 o'clock at night.
which is completely fine for me. I can
You're
make that
9 hours
work.
ahead of me.
No, I do.
So
I love this race. Yeah, I'm annoyed that I'm not there, but come on, Kate, come on, Hayden, come on, Cassandra.
yeah, I mean, look, Hayden's leading the standings on the men's ahead of Tim Helwig and then Alex Yee in third. Overall standings on the women, Georgia Taylor Brown's leading ahead of Johan Leher and Taylor Spivey in third. So
I really like Gian
it's
Laher.
tight. Okay.
I really like Gian Laher. Like,
Yeah.
she's an athlete. I really like her. I think she's so cool. That's such a weird thing to say. Like, she's a great athlete. I really like that, like the way she races. I like the approach she has to the sport. I think she's just, I watched a clip where it was her being disqualified last year, and she actually took it. I really like that sort of response she had and stuff. So yeah, I'm a big Gian Laher fan. I think she's great for the sport.
Yeah. Georgia Taylor Brown and Hayden Wild are first sharing the same number of points on 29. So it's going to be interesting to see it shake out. But like you say, I think Hayden and his team might have cracked that code now, and we might see a similar sort of outcome to what we saw in Chicago.
I hope Vince holds on a bit better. I really want to see Vince. He sort of dropped off in that last leg of the run in Chicago. I'd love to see Vince get a podium. I think he deserves it. But yeah, again, we talked about it before. The rate the races are so close together that it's like not much has changed. I don't want to just have the same conversation again.
No,
Uh,
no.
and,
Yeah,
and
indeed.
re so
Same.
we'll probably unpack it a little bit after the race next week on the show. James Bale, we are done. If people want to find out more about us, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Instagram, at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. Join the Patreon group. You get access to the monthly bonus episode and the social group and the WhatsApp group, which we always bang on about and is basically my source of information when a Ironman Pro Series race is going on, because I refuse to watch it until they sort out the commentary. But if Joe's going to be there next time, I will watch that. And what else do I have to say?
That's it.
It's awesome. Come join us.
Do it. Head to youtube.com, subscribe to us there. It's a good place to have conversations. Lots of great conversations about last week's episode. Although I think a few people who were commenting just saw the title and didn't actually listen to the episode because they were like,
Hey, we're on crack, mate, apparently.
yeah, it's funny.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum. Yeah, I hope that person did come back and listen again. No, there was some very fascinating comments, but it's our podcast. We talk about what we want, how we want it, but we always appreciate the constructive conversation. We like to have chats about the sport. So youtube.com/talking triathlon, I guess. Yeah, come on over, subscribe, give us your thoughts. Let us know who your picks are for the women's race in Nice. Who's your not your pick? Who's your dark horse? Who's your one to watch? That's what I'd like to know. Who's your one to watch in Nice? That'd be good. Jimbo, a pleasure. We'll do this all again next week, as well as a bonus episode next week. So a double recording week next week, which is always fun. Until then, I'll talk to you later.
Here we are.